If you've been on the internet or been into self-improvement or improving your life in just any sort of way, then you've more than likely come to a point where you have improved your life, you've gotten very good, very disciplined at things, about working out and changing things about yourself that you don't like. You've gotten to a point probably where your life has improved, but you're still not exactly happy, where your life isn't perfect. And of course, no one's life is perfect. But what do you do when you actually get to that point where you've been improving your life, but then you still seem to have problems? The thing is about self-improvement is that it's sort of a catch-22, because self-improvement is an idea. Self-improvement, most people know it as going from being sort of like a loser, imagine you're like a young man in high school, to improving and getting better and developing confidence and skills and looks and becoming more attractive to other people, to women, and just people in general. And this sort of idea is very invigorating for a lot of people, a lot of young men especially. But like I said, it can actually get to a point where you've done all the things, you've done all the habits, but your life still isn't perfect. And that is because the reason you've gotten to this point is actually because the you who needed the self-improvement ideas and habits is different from the you are now. You see, self-improvement is, like I said, an oxymoron, because it's taking you from being low-level, like loser, to being a winner, like a Chad, cool guy, like the Adonis meme. But in doing so, then you still are going to have problems in your life, like I said, because no one's perfect. But those problems are different than the problems that you had when you needed self-improvement. So, for an example, when you were a very skinny kid and you played video games today, you're very disciplined, you didn't shower often, and just were kind of like a social loser. And so you go into the gym, you go into hard, you self-improve, you develop confidence, skills, and you like the way you look now. The problems that you have now are very different from the problems that you had when you were back then. So doing the same things for self-improvement aren't going to get better. The thing is, self-improvement needs to change over time. It is a constant reflection. It's a mirror that you hold up in front of yourself 24/7. You keep looking at it to keep changing small bits about yourself. Now again, you're not going to reach perfection, but you are going to need to keep improving yourself, because for instance, you could go too hard at the gym. You could go and become more obsessive in business, in money, and all these things, and become very obsessed in the life that you have now, that you sort of forget to have good social relationships. You neglect the social side of the aspect, and that can make you much more lonelier and unhappy, isolated from a lot of people. So that is why I think most people don't realize that self-improvement, the idea of self-improvement is improving the self. I know it's very simple, it's basic, but you're improving your life in small habits. But those habits can change based on the way your life is right now. Again, even in the beginning, self-improvement for me could have looked different from self-improvement for you. Where maybe you already were in the gym, and maybe you just need to stop going after women too much, or maybe you read too many books and you were too much of a nerd. You actually need to go to the gym much more often. So it can be different for everyone else. Self-improvement for a 40-year-old dad is much more different than for a 60-year-old boy. They both have different things that they're trying to do. One of the boys maybe needs to develop more confidence talking about women, doing things like that. Whereas the dad maybe needs to be a better husband, maybe he needs to be more sociable, work out, more disciplined. Self-improvement can look different for everybody. Now, that is not to say that you should neglect the fundamentals, which is, like I said, discipline, hard work, and building yourself as a man. You always need to do those things no matter what age you are at. So self-improvement doesn't stop. It just looks differently on different types of people. Now, I should say that there comes this divide in a lot of people where they kind of go too extreme on one end, where they're very extreme in self-improvement, and then some people think that they need to ease up and stop and sort of just lax a bit, and they can end up going back to where they were before. The thing is, if you do end up going back to that place you were in the beginning, like let's say a loser, then it's different, because you're no longer a loser who hasn't done self-improvement. If let's say you were to just get fat again tomorrow, I'm not saying like to do that at all. I'm just saying if tomorrow you stopped working out and you stopped doing the habits that got you to this point, you are coming at it from an angle as someone who has already done the good habits and has seen the results, but now has sort of regressed. And again, that's why I say it's something different that has gotten you to this point. So don't what you should do. For what you should do, I think you should continuously hold up the mirror to yourself and keep examining yourself to see what sort of life do I want to live. Keep asking yourself every morning, what type of life do I want to live, and what type of person do I want to be? And if the habits that you're doing right now are not aligned to that goal, then you need to switch your habits. You need to change the things that you're doing about your day. If you're going too hard in one area, then maybe it's time to ease off it. Because again, like I said, I think a man should be well-rounded and good in many different areas of life. Where you are right now, what got you to the level that you are right now is not going to get you to the next level. The next level could look a bit different. Maybe it could be settling down with family. Maybe it could be traveling more. Maybe you need to talk to more people, become more sociable. But regardless of what it is, make sure that you're coming at it from an angle. You're not a complete novice. If you've been doing self-improvement for this entire time, you're not coming at from an angle of someone who has actually done the hard work and is now trying to improve his life even more.